Hi everyone. Am I audible to everyone?
Hi, Kashish. Yes.
Okay. Let's just wait for one more minute, then we can get started. All right. Hi everyone. Is there any question from anyone from the previous session that we had? Or have you tried the questions that I sent or posted in the drive?
Uh, no, Kashish, I haven't tried. I'll have it. I'll do it after this session.
All right.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So in the previous session, we discussed about loops. We started basically loops, and there are two types of loop that we have seen: for loop and while loop. But while loop, we haven't taken any example, or you can say I haven't explained it much. So today we will, before proceeding with while loop, there are some keywords that we need to discuss. So for loop, we discussed various examples in the previous session, and so yeah, these were some of the examples. So if there are no questions on the for loop, we can proceed to some of the keywords that we use in the loops, or maybe conditions. So let's get started with the keywords that I'm going to discuss today. First one is break. So let's take an example. So if I'm running a loop, so let's just recall what is a loop. Loop is something which is just to reiterate multiple state, which is to reiterate the condition, or maybe reiterating the same statements multiple times, so that we are getting the results as per the operators or the parameters that we are giving in the for loop. But what if, based on a condition, I want to stop the execution of the for loop? For that, we have a keyword which is break. So to stop the execution at some point of time within the loop, or maybe to stop after some iterations, we can use break statement to stop the execution of that for loop. But just keep in mind that break doesn't actually breaks the execution of whole program. It just breaks the for loop or maybe while loop. Then it comes to the execution of the remaining statements of the program. So let's just read the theory of break statement. Many times we want to stop the execution of the loop if some condition is fulfilled, but loops doesn't stop automatically. This is important because whatever, suppose we are using a range for I in range 1 to 5, so it will print 1 2 3 4. But what if I want to stop the execution after value 2? So for that, loop doesn't stop automatically. We have to stop that by using break statement. So they need a command from the user to stop the execution. So the command that we are giving as a user is just nothing but just a break statement. In such scenarios, we use break keyword. Um, yeah. So break terminates the execution of the loop. Noted that it just stop the execution of the loop. As I've just mentioned, that it doesn't stop the execution of whole program. It just stop the executions of that loop specifically and process remaining of the statements in the program. And then break statement can be used in both while and for loop. So this can be used in both type of loops that we are going to discuss. For loop we already know, while loop we are going to study today. In case there are nested loops, what are nested loops? I can tell you an example, maybe in just 1 or 2 minutes. In such cases, break terminates executes the innermost loop. So there can be multiple loops within a single loop. I'm just going to take an example and then I will explain this statement clearly. But the overall idea behind break is to stop the execution of the loop. It can be for or it can be while within a few iterations or maybe based on some condition. So we know that to run a for loop, this is a basic syntax for I in range 0 to 10. So it will basically print the values from 0 to 9. Let me just clear the output. Okay. For I in range 0 to 10, it will basically print the values from 0 to 9. And that is the basic idea behind running this for loop. Now, the nested loops are, this is an example of nested loop in which I have a for loop within the external for loop. So basically loop inside a loop. So what it is doing, let's understand first. So for I in range 0 to 5, what does it mean? It will fetch the values from range from 0 to 4. It will exclude the 5, which is the stop position. So values will be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then it will print I, which is the value 0. In the first iteration, I will hold the value of 0 and it will print I colon, which is the value 0. And then I have used one more loop inside this outer loop. So now for I in range 10 to 15, so the first value of j will be 10 and then it will print j, which is 10. But in the next iteration, it will not go to the external loop till the time it doesn't complete the internal loop. So internal loop says there are some more iterations that needs to be processed after 10. So the next value of j will be 11 and 11 will be printed, then 12, then 13 and 14. Once it reaches 15, then it will stop the execution and will move to the external loop and the value of I will be incremented from 0 to 1. And again, 1 will be printed and 5 iterations of j will be processed. Then value of I will be 2. It will print value of I 2. Then again 5 iterations for j. Similarly for ith value 3 and ith value 4. So basically this will process 5 iterations, 5 iterations of j in each iteration of I. For every value of I, 5 iterations of j will be processed. Let's just verify the output. As you can see, so the first iteration of I is ith value is 0. And then inside this iteration, we are running one more for loop which will run 5 times. So from 10 to 14, it is running j10, j11, 12, 13, and 14. And then it came to outer loop and the value of I is incremented to 1. And then 1 is printed here, I colon 1. And again 5 values of j are written here. Similarly for I is equal to 2 and 5 values of j are printed. Similarly for 3 and 4. So this is the idea behind nested loops. There can be multiple nested loops. You can add one more loop such as this. This means we have a nested loop inside this outer loop, which is j, and we have this is also nested in this loop. So we have 3 basically nested loops in this program. I can remove these 2 lines so that it doesn't look complex. But just practice this and try to understand how it is processing in the backend, and maybe change some scenarios. Maybe use this I statement here, and then think about what would be the output now. So you have to maybe do some permutation and combinations of these for loops, use conditions inside it, so that you get much clarity on the concept behind using nested loops and also for loop and conditions. Okay.
Just one question.
Yeah.
Just by changing the indentation in the second for loop, so each for loop executes just like separately, right?
Yes. Yes. So what do you mean if I'm changing the indentation to here? Do you mean this?
No, the for loop statement
This
of
one?
J. Yeah.
So okay. So this will be completely different loops. So first of all, I value, so this is the complete one for loop. Once this is completed, the pointer will be moved to this for loop. We can also run this. So first all the values of I are printed and then j.
Mhm.
Good
Okay.
question. Thanks for asking. Uh, okay, let me just make it original form. Now, so this was the idea behind for loop and nested loops. We have already seen much examples in the last session. Now let's move to the actual concept that we're going to discuss today, which is break. Okay, so now we have a name, which is my name, first name, and then I'm printing each character of my name one by one. So as we know, the for loop can process the iterations on the iterable variables. So iterables are strings, tuple, list, set, and dictionary. So these all are iterables on which iterations can be performed. So we can use loops on such data types. So string is also an iterable. So we are going to do for I in name. So basically it will extract each character in each iteration, and then it will going to print or whatever function we are saying to do inside the for loop. Basically, in the first iteration, I will hold the value as k, and then we are checking if I is equal to h, then break. So what does it mean? In the first iteration, if the value of I is k, this condition will be false, so it is not equal to h, then it will not break, but rather it will come out and we'll see that there is one more statement, that is print I. So it will print k. In the next iteration, the I will hold the value of a, so it will check if I is equal to a h, sorry, again it is false, so it will not break the execution of loop, and it will print a. Similarly for s, and then once it comes to h, so I value is h, so this condition will be true and it will stop the execution by using this break statement, and it will not process the other statements inside the for loop. So you can see this print statement is inside this for loop, so any other subsequent statement will be ignored and that execution will be stopped right here. Let's just verify. You can see k, a, s and print are printed at h position. It has stopped the execution. So this functionality was not there in previous session because we didn't had anything to stop the execution based on some condition or rather any other parameter that we used. So this was again the basic example about using break statement. Let's take one more example. So now how would you check vowels in a string? The moment you see a vowel, break the loop. So let's understand how it is processing. Again, I'm writing same loop for I in my name, and then in the first iteration I will hold the value of k, and then inside this iteration we are checking if I, which means k, in this list. So k is not in this list, so it will not stop the execution, it will print the I, which is k. And then a, so in the second iteration value of I is a, and indeed a is in this list, which is a vowel, and this condition is true, and then it will break the execution of the loop. Now the subsequent statements of for loop will not be processed, so it will not print a in the second iteration, so it will just print k. And then if you see this, the indentation of this print statement, this is out of this for loop. So for loop is ending up to this statement. This statement is different in this program. So Python program will see that if there are any other statement that I need to process. So in this case, yes, there is one more statement that you need to process. So it will just stop the execution of for loop here, and it will process the remaining statement, which is this. Let's see this. If I run this, you can see k is the element which is printed inside the for loop, and then it has printed this statement. The letter is matching with vowel, and vowel is a, because in the second iteration this condition was false, but actually I hold the value a, that's why it checked the condition. So finally I will have the value of a. Moving to next question. This question says print the numbers till the time the number from 0 to 50 are not magic number, and break the loop if number is a magic number. So what we are trying to do, there is a magic number, maybe a winning number, you can say, in a lucky draw. So if the magic number is 7, and we need to print each number till the time it reaches the magic number. So we are using magic is equal to 7. This is an integer variable will be created. So you can take it as winning number. Then we are running for I in range 51. Basically, it will start from 0 to 51, not 51. It will start from 0 to 50. And then in the first iteration, the value of I will be 0. It will check if I is equal to magic. It is not. So it will not process these two statements, right? And it will move to else statement and it will print I, which is 0. In the second iteration, it will print 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And once it reaches 7, this condition will be true and it will print 7 is the magic number. So value of I will be 7, and then it will break the execution of loop, and none of the subsequent statement will be processed because these statements are also inside this loop. Let's run this. You can see 0 to 6 are printed and then 7 is the magic number and execution is stopped. Okay. Now next question is, we need to count E in the string. The occurrences of E in the string needs to be counted. What is the string? Python is efficient and easy. This is a string that we need to check how many E's are there. Then if count of E is greater than 2, maybe there can be 5 times E occurring in this string or any other string, then stop the execution. So once it reaches the count as 2, then stop the execution. And note, there are 3 E's in the string. So one is this, second is this, and third is this. And then we are, for maybe resolving this question, we are declaring a variable of count in which we will store the value or maybe increment the value of count as soon as it sees see a E in the string. So the basic idea in this program is we have to iterate through each element of the string. So first element will be P in the first iteration. In the second iteration, value will be Y. And if it is equal to E, then only it will increase the counter of count variable. Now let's execute or maybe see the functionality of this program. So we are running for I in this string, which is Python is efficient and easy. So first in the first iteration, values of I will be P. We are checking if I is equal to E. Of course, P is not equal to E, then it will not process all of these statements, right? And then once it reaches to E, so then this condition will be true and this count variable will be incremented to 1. Now count will hold the value as 1 because this is the first E it has found. Then we will check if count is greater than 2. Of course not, because count holds the value as 1. So it will be false. Then it will not stop the execution. It will continue. And finally, it will print I and count. So I holds the value as E and count holds the value as 1. In the second iteration, once it reaches to this E, count will be incremented to 2. And then again, it will check the condition. And this will again be false because count is not greater than 2. It is equal to 2. So this will be false. Again, execution will be continued and this statement will be executed. And once it is reaches to this E, this condition will also be true and count now holds the value as 3. So this condition is true as 3 is greater than 2. It will stop the execution of this for loop. This statement will not be printed, but for loops ends here, and Python program can see that there is one more statement that needs to be processed. So let's run this program. You can see E1, E2 and ending loop as count is above 2. Last question for the break statement is check in how many years my investment of 1 lakh will be double to 2 lakh or higher. Just like we saw some examples for loop in which we were finding after how many years we will get the X amount. So similarly, now we are doing the vice versa. In how many years my investment of 1 lakh will be double to 2 lakh or higher. So let's understand the logic. So we are running the loop basically to find out the years. So in each loop iteration, the year value will be incremented so that we can count the number of years. This is one. Second is we have to stop the execution once principal has reached to 2 lakh or higher value. These are the two logics that we need to apply in this program. So for this, we have initialized the principal of 1 lakh, as you can see, as this, and year variable is 0, right? Now we are running the for loop in range 0 to 50. This can be lower value, this can be higher value as per your understanding, but I have kept it as 50. So for I in range 0 to 50, we are doing in the first iteration, I will hold the value as uh, 0, and then this statement will be executed, and this statement is very this statement is just like this statement. It is same. So we are doing principal is equal to principal plus principal into interest. So interest of 1 lakh will be 9,000 plus principal is 1 lakh. So now principal value, new value of principal will be 1 lakh and 9,000 using this statement. And then year value will be incremented. So first of all, year was 0, and then in this iteration, first iteration, year will hold the value of 1 now. And then we are printing year. So it will print year colon 1, then principal colon 1,09,000. And once it is, and we are checking if principal is greater than equal to 2 lakh. Of course, it is not. It is just 1,09,000 as of now. So it will not break the execution of for loop. It will continue. And once it is reached to 2 lakh or greater value, it will break the execution. Let's run this and see the output. You can see at year 1, I will get this much amount, and we will get the double amount at year 9. This is the program that we just executed, and I I think that by knowing a Python by knowing the basics of Python, you have basically created a program which can resolve your finances problem some up to some extent. Maybe you can do some predictions, or not predictions, but actually find the future value of any investment or maybe any mutual fund based on their interest. But this was just the basic program, but you can see in just 6 to 7 classes we have achieved this level that we can resolve such problems. So any question till here? Otherwise we can move to next keyword.
Nothing from me.
Okay. So moving to next keyword, which is continue. Just give me a minute and I'm plugging my charger. Okay. So next keyword is continue. So there are some cases where we do not want to process the subsequent statements based on a condition. I can show you some examples here, but there are of course some scenarios in our real world where we work on Python where we want to stop or maybe skip the execution of subsequent statements based on a condition. So it will stop, it will skip the execution of that specific iteration, but it will not break the execution of for loop or while loop. It will take the pointer to the beginning of the loop. So maybe we can read the theory and see some examples, then it will be much clearer. So in cases where we want to just skip the execution of the remaining statement of the loop based on a condition and move the pointer to the beginning of loop to process next iteration. So this is the point to understand that it will not stop the execution of loop. It will just skip the execution of subsequent statements and will take the pointer to the beginning of the loop so that it can process remaining iterations. Then we can use continue statement. So continue returns the control to the beginning of the loop, and the continue statement rejects all the remaining statement in the current iteration of the loop and moves the control back to the top of the loop. The continue statement can be used for both while and for loops. So this is the first example of while loop. Sorry, not while loop, continue statement. So we need to check if vehicle number is available to be taken by someone. Just like when we purchase a new vehicle, there are some numbers that maybe showroom members give us to like choose it from. So this program is something like that. So there are some numbers which are already taken, right? These are the numbers in the list which are already taken, and now this is a range which is left for the customer, for the new customer. So 4012 to 4026 is the range, and we are running the iterations on it. If the number is matching to the to any number in this list, then it will skip that number, right? Otherwise, it will print that car number is available. Pay amount to take this number. So let's run this. In the first iteration, 4012, ith value will be 4012, and then we are checking if I in numbers taken. Of course, 4012 is not there in this list. Then what it has done? It has done continue. So it has not stopped the execution, or maybe skipped the execution of this iteration, and it has printed this statement. But once the value in the next iteration value of I is 4013, this condition is fulfilled because I is there in this list, in this numbers taken list. So it has run continue statement. So in this case, this statement will not be printed because it has stopped or skipped the subsequent statements of the loop. So this is a subsequent statement in within this same for loop. So it has skipped those statements and took the pointer of the program to the beginning of the loop. Then it has moved to the next value, which is 4014. Similarly, it has performed for all the numbers, and these are the available numbers which can be availed for the car. This is another question for continue, where we want to print all odd numbers between 1 to 10 using continue statement. So we are running a range for I in range 1 to 11, which will take the values from 1 up to 10, and then we are checking. So in the first iteration, value of I will be 1. If I modulus 2 is equal to 1, which means we are checking the remainder. If it is 1, then print the number is an odd number, and else we are using continue, right? So if the number is an odd number, it will continue and it will not print this statement, right? But if number is an even number, which means if I in the next iteration ith value will be 2, so the remainder will not be equal to 1, and then it will print, sorry, then also it will continue and it will not print an even number. So in only in odd number cases it will print this value. It will always skip this value. You can see it is always skipping the subsequent statements after the continue keyword. But if I skip this continue keyword by, maybe we can comment this using this hash sign. If I run it now, you can see it is printing all the numbers. For the even numbers, it is printing 2 times, but it is giving us wrong result. Why? Because in the first iteration, ith value is 1, so it has fulfilled this condition. So it is printing I is an odd number. Then you can see that for has one more statement, which is this. Based on none of conditions, it will always process. So no, there is no condition which is there for this print statement. So it will be processed in all the iterations of the loop. So that's why I used continue here. This may not be the perfect example for to show the continue statement, but yes, the upper example makes sense here. Okay, the last keyword that we are going to discuss is pass. To be honest, pass is not used very much practically, but yes, it is there. So I just wanted to explain the concept. So let's just take a quick look at it. When we want to skip the execution of the loop or if else conditions, pass keyword can be used. And then in Python programming, pass is a null statement. Just an example before. Okay, just we can just read it through. In Python programming, pass is a null statement. The difference between a comment, which is this, if I'm running this, it will basically do nothing. the Python interpreter will just understand that this is a comment statement. We are not going to process anything. But pass statement also do nothing, but it is a statement which interpreter knows that we need to process this, right? This is the difference between comment and pass. That comment doesn't get processed by the interpreter, but pass gets processed by the interpreter. This is the basic difference between both of them. So however, nothing happens when pass is executed. It results in no operation. This is the basic example of pass. If I run this, a is equal to 10, and then if a is equal to 10, then pass. So we are saying that if the condition is matching, then do nothing. If I'm running this, you can see that it is basically doing nothing here. So there are some conditions, like maybe there are some situations where we use pass, but not much. I can just discuss about one uh, situation after completing these examples. So now again the same example, vehicle numbers. Check if the vehicle number is available to be taken by someone. Again same list, and then we are running for I in range from 4012 to 4026. Then we are saying if I in numbers taken, again we are checking if the number is there in this list, then pass. Don't do anything. And then we are printing car number is available, pay amount to take this number. You can see the difference between continue and pass, that even if the uh, number is taken, even if I is there in numbers taken list, we are using pass. It is doing basically nothing. That's why it will not skip the subsequent statements. The subsequent statement will also get processed. But continue makes sense in this example because it will stop the execution of the subsequent statement in that iteration. So pass is just a, you can say, placeholder, because if I remove pass from here and just run this, this will throw me an error because there is an indentation error expecting an indented block. But if I show you in this example, so pass is a keyword which can be used in both conditions and loops. If I'm ignoring pass here and want to do nothing based on a condition, you can see again we are getting syntax error, unexpected end of file. This is EOF is end of file while parsing. So we have to use pass to maybe execute a condition, execute the program, but do nothing. Now I can talk about example where I used pass. So okay, there is one more example. So using pass for in for loop. Now we are this list 1, 2, 3, and 44. For I in L, for we are running each iteration of element. There is each of element which is there in list, and we are doing nothing. We are just running pass. So all the elements will be processed one by one, but none of them will throw me any output. But finally, the last value of this loop means ith value of last will be 44, and we are printing the value. The last value of list is I, which will be 44. In this program, I just wanted to show you that it will be processed in the backend. Interpreter will execute these statements, and in each iteration, I will hold value as 1, 2, 3, and 44. But it will not process anything. But actually, interpreter holds the value of I, which will be 44 in the last iteration. Let me run this. You can see the last value of list is 44. Now let's take an example where pass can be used. Suppose there are three, you can say, databases, maybe MySQL, Oracle, and some other, maybe Postgres. So there are three databases: MySQL, Postgres, and Oracle. Suppose you want to do something. If I'm using MySQL database and we are using condition, if database is equal to MySQL, then do this. Elif database is equal to this, then do this. And if elif database is equal to Postgres, then do this. This can be very simply handled, right? But what if there is a condition where we need to where we do not need to process anything for MySQL? So you can write it like, if database is equal to Oracle, then do this. If database is equal to Postgres, then do something. If database is equal to MySQL, then do nothing. But there can be a case when you need to process MySQL, maybe to check something, but you do not want to process something, right? So this can be a case where you can use pass to just ignore one of the values, but process something on other two values. So actually I've used this in some of my old projects, so that's why I just recall that example. So any questions on any of these keywords? Break, continue, and pass. This can be a boring session today, but yeah, these are important keywords that we need to we need to discuss. Any question from anyone? Or people are sleeping today? Okay. So guys, let's rejoin because there is another topic which is while loop, and I just wanted to maintain the continuity. So let's drop this session and rejoin again.